welcome to today's Big Brother 19 updates and spoilers. Our house guest of the day is John Shawan. If it rhymes, it must be true. Right? That's totally a Big Brother saying. No, it's not, but they've said it on Big Brother. Anyway, thank you so much for your support. We appreciate it so much, and if you guys want to be house guest of the day, check out our Patreon link in the info box below. Alright, so if you guys watched yesterday's spoiler, there was some confusion about who was going to go home. There were a couple of votes in question, mainly just Josh and Kevin. So it turns out, before the feeds went down for good before the show, Josh was alone in the storage room and he told the cameras that he was keeping Christmas because he said that Christmas was more likely to make moves against Cody than Jillian, and Cody should not have waited until the day before to talk to him. Oh shit, so Cody did this to himself. That's what you get for treating people like garbage. You really gotta, like, not be a douche. So anyway, we saw on the show that Jillian was evicted by a vote of 8-4. Kevin and Josh both voted to keep Christmas. I was a little bit surprised that Kevin did end up flipping because I thought he was going to stick with the outsiders, but it's interesting. I'm into it. We'll see what happens. Cody and Jess were pissed. And we saw that it was Jess versus Christmas after the eviction, and freaking Jillian's interview interrupted the drama so that she could just be like, I played in some competitions. Moving on. We saw the beginning of the HOH competition. It was called Sugar Shot, and it had a Candy Crush theme. And before the competition, the feeds were like, ooh, check out later. We're going to have the comp on here. It took like 20 minutes for the feeds to come back on after the show was over. Like, I don't mean to complain, but okay, so they had to find the tickets in the balls, lollipops, and glasses cases. Yes, I'm pretty sure those like long pill-like ones were glasses cases. Mom pointed that out. I was like, oh shit, I did used to have a case like that. Hey, why not? And they then took the tickets, redeemed them for balls. They had to shoot the balls down the path and get it to land in the heart. And there were 3 paths to choose from: a straight, thin one, don't be gross, a medium one, medium width, so wrong, medium width, girth, whatever you want to call it, and it had like a little 90-degree angle in there, well, a big 90-degree angle. And then the third one was the widest path, but it was like crazy curved. You had to go around the curve there, just around the river bend. So Christmas and the couples were all giving Paul a lot of tickets. When I say the couples, I don't mean Jessica and Cody anymore. So I'm talking like Matt, Raven, Mark, and Elena. So they were giving him a lot of tickets. They were even going as far as waiting in line with their tickets and then just giving him the tickets and having him cut them. So that's pretty crazy. And Cody definitely noticed all that going on. He also heard a lot of victim noises as people were getting pelted with balls. I mean, the balls and the glasses cases and stuff were like falling from the sky, and everybody was like, ah, ah! And then you see freaking Jessica standing in front of this conveyor belt where lollipops were coming out, and instead of like taking off the wrapper like most people were doing, she was like, with the lollipops and just smashing them. So I guess she was getting a lot of her anger out. But most of the house guests were going for the curvy path to try and hit the heart, and after about 40 minutes, Paul won the HOH. Didn't he win this competition, like basically this competition last season too? I'm pretty sure. And he hosted the one just like this on OTT. Pretty wild. So after he won, he yelled, "From BB18, that's where I came from. Friendship will prevail." Lols. Okay, so then after the competition, the feeds cut, but there was an audio leak. You gotta love an audio leak, especially when it involves production. So we hear production being like, hey guys, I know emotions run really high in the BB house, but we don't want to see anybody going nose to nose or anything like that. You can say whatever you want to each other, but don't get in other people's faces. It's inappropriate. So, you know, they're telling people, don't get physical, don't fight. Okay, I respect that. But then we missed out on some freaking prime time stuff because instead of getting to see the fallout after the competition was over, Jillian strikes again. I swear to God, if I miss any more fun stuff because of Jillian's interviews, I'm gonna be pissed. So the feed started showing this live interview with Jillian and Jeff Schroeder. Again, it was like not that exciting. No offense, but get out of here. We have other things to see. Get out. Okay. So then the feeds finally came back on Jess and Cody, and Jess was crying. You had to know that was coming. And Cody's like, yeah, I saw all of our like allies giving Paul their tickets. That alliance is over. It's done. By the way, Jess and Cody are chilling in the have-not room. We'll come back to them. Okay, so then the feeds flip to Kevin and Jason in the Rose bedroom, and Kevin is pretending that he voted for Jillian to stay. So people seem to be believing it too. Oh my god. Okay, they've correctly identified that Josh was one of the votes for Christmas to stay, but the other one that was like out of whack, they're saying is Ramses. They're believing it was Ramses! And Ramses was best friends with Jillian. Oh my god. So then, apparently, we missed some good stuff. I don't know when exactly this happened. It was definitely when feeds were down, but Ramses, like, called Kevin a snake to Cody. And I guess he, like, also got in his face, and he was, like, yelling at Kevin. That's freaking nuts. We better get to see that on the show. But Paul comes in the room, and he's like, listen, guys, I don't care if either of you voted to evict Christmas. But I'm assuming Paul knows the truth and that Kevin did vote to keep her. I think he knows what's going on there. And he's just like, I got you. But anyway, he warns Kevin, you need to be careful with Ramses because of all that drama that went down. Because Ramses is probably still going to be there next week because Paul will be targeting Cody. Okay. So then Paul goes in to see Jess and Cody in the have-not room. He pays them a little visit, and he's just like, oh, Jess, don't cry. Don't cry over this game. And Cody's like, she's not crying because of the game. She's crying because of the betrayal. So he's saying that Jess was like all innocent last week. She didn't know what Cody was going to do, and then all the girls excluded her. No. Let's not, you know, go crazy with this revisionist history here. Like, yeah, she didn't know what he was gonna freaking do with that boneheaded move, but still, she was not excluded by the girls. She was nasty and catty, and that's what happened, okay? So then, a few minutes later, this is a perfect example. Josh goes into the have-not room, and Josh starts to say something, and Cody just cuts him off. He's like, Josh, we don't want to hear it right now. Grab your stuff, get whatever you need, and leave. So Josh keeps trying to say something, and Cody keeps interrupting him, and he's just like, Josh, will you just shut the F up? And he says it again, and it's just like, whoa. So Josh is like, I just want us to live in peace. Like, I'm not trying to start any drama right now. And Cody's just like, get out. So finally, Josh gets his stuff. He gets out of there. This is exactly why Josh voted for Christmas to stay, because he didn't like the way he was being treated by Cody and his crew. Damn. All right. So then Paul is finally revealing his master plan for the week. He's been hyping this up for the last few days, so we finally get to hear it. He was telling Elena, Dominique, Matt, and Raven all about it. Obviously, he wants to take out Cody this week, but he wants to do it in like a weird way. So he is thinking of putting up 2 pawns from their side, including Raven, because he's like, yeah, if Cody's up against Raven at the end of the week, he's gonna look like a real douchebag campaigning against her. Like, how messed up would that be? So then he's like, all right, I'm putting up 2 pawns, say like Raven and Matt. One of us wins the power veto, Cody goes up, and that's it. So they're all like, yeah, we trust you. What? That plan is ridiculous. Stop it. What if the veto isn't used? Hello? So then they're talking about also Ramses' curse, but Paul has misunderstood the curse. He thinks that Ramses has to go up for the next 3 weeks straight. That's not how it works. So he's like, yeah, if all else fails and the 2 of you are still up on the block, Ramses will be there with you, and we'll just get rid of him. So it's 100% amazing. Yay. So Paul is like totally confident about this. I'm thinking this could be a total embarrassing fail. Ugh. Okay, so then Jason and Alex were talking in the money bedroom, and they know that Josh was one of the ones that flipped, and they believe that Ramses was the other flipper. And not only are people saying like, oh yeah, it was definitely Ramses who did this, they're saying there's no way that it was Kevin. I totally trust Kevin. Did you see how upset he looked when the voting results came out? Oh my god. So then Josh walks in, and again, same kind of thing going on here. Alex is like, no, I don't want to talk to you. Turn around and get away from me. Damn! Okay. So then Kevin joins a few minutes later. He does not get that treatment. But like I said earlier, apparently Ramses got in Kevin's face and was yelling at him, but we didn't get to see it. Also, Kevin lets them know that at this point, he only cares about Alex, Jason, and Paul, and he wants them to all work together. We'll see. All right. So then, this is a huge deal, guys. This is like Christmas tells Paul and Dominique what's really up with her foot. Okay, I thought it was a little bit fishy when she came back and she was just like, yeah, it's like 2 broken bones, it's fine. No. So apparently the doctors told her this is the worst possible break you could have in your foot. She's got 2 broken bones, and like the rest of the bones are all like freaking out of place, like they're moved out of place. So she's actually going to be getting surgery on Monday. She's got to get like pins and screws up in there, and she's going to be in a cast for 4 months, and then she's going to have another surgery to remove the pins. So this is like after the show is even over, and it's going to be a total recovery time of 6 months. That sucks. No wonder why she didn't tell anybody, because she didn't want them to be like, well shit, we're getting rid of her. So Paul's just like, wow, that really sucks. But he says at least she's going to be another vote for them this week, and then, you know, they'll see how it goes in the future. But, like, damn, that sucks. So she hasn't told everybody yet about the surgery. Can you imagine if she just doesn't tell people and she just disappears for, like, a day? I think she said she's coming back on Monday night, so we'll see how that goes. Anyway, Cody and Jess are already moving their stuff into the have-not room. They're figuring, hey, we're going to be have-nots. Let's just get this over with now. It's really sad. But I think also they just wanted to be isolated from everybody else. They didn't want to deal with anybody else, and let's be real, nobody wants to just hang out in the have-not room voluntarily, so that room was empty and they took it. Okay, so then, oh boy, Josh finds himself in the have-not room alone with Jess, and he's like, I tried to talk to you about my vote multiple times this week and you kept shutting me down. Well, guess what? If she was shutting him down before, she's shutting him down even harder now. So she's like, I have no respect for you. You lied to my face. It seems like she starts getting emotional, starts crying a little bit. And he's like, I want you to know, like, I voted on a personal level. And before he can explain himself, she's just like, you should have just been honest. I don't care who you voted for. You should have just been honest. And after a few minutes of, like, back and forth bickering, she storms out. So then Jess is ranting in the money room to Cody, Alex, and Jason, and she's like, I can't listen to Josh lie to my face one more time like I'm an effing R-word. Not good. Okay, and then she calls Josh a freaking twat. She says he's an outsider wherever he goes in this house. So then Josh comes in, and he's like, don't call me a bitch, don't call me a little girl. So then Jess is like, well, stop crying and acting like a victim. You know Cody's got to jump in on that. So he says, you've made victim noises on a constant basis. All I hear coming out of you is victim noises. And he said, you don't sound like a man at all, you sound like a child. Oh my god, get a life. So then Josh is like, God bless you, I wish you guys the best in life. Oh my god, I love when people say that. Okay, and then Josh is like, you guys are making the game very personal. I don't want it to be like this. And he is just trying to, like, smooth things out, but they are not having it right now. And Cody's like, well, we don't want to talk to you on a personal level at all. Get out of here. So Josh walks away crying, and he tries to get into the diary room, and he can't get in there because Paul's in there. And then he goes to the bathroom area, and he is freaking sobbing, like sobbing. He's like, okay, so Raven, Dominique, Elena, and Mark are all in there. They're trying to, you know, comfort him, trying to pump him up, and they're telling him, be a fighter, don't entertain any other comments. You obviously made the right decision with your vote this week because those people suck. So he's like, I'm not being a victim, I'm crying out of anger. He just cannot get over being called a victim. He doesn't like that. And he doesn't like being called like a little bitch. So anyway, who likes that? Jessica, a little while later, is having a freaking meltdown in the have-not room with Cody. She's like, this isn't a game anymore. This is personal attacks, and I didn't sign up for this. So she says that she's down to pack her bags and leave. Get out. So then she takes off her microphone, and Cody's just like, oh no, don't do that. Don't do that. And I just see her like pulling a Shima and throwing in the pool. But anyway, Cody's trying to get her to put her mic back on. He's like, please, just do it for me, if nothing else. And then Big Brother's like, Jessica, please put on your microphone. They requested a few times. She ignores their requests. And then, perfect timing, who wants to see Paul's HOH room? You could not time that more perfectly. She doesn't want to see it. So, after Paul gets out of the DR, Jessica runs over there. She's like, I don't want to be in this house with those C's. Those see you next Tuesdays. So, Jess, ow, I just scratched my head. Jess goes to the diary room while everyone else is going up to the HOH room. Do-do-do-do-do. And they're all waiting for her outside. They're like, is Jess coming up? And Cody's like, no, she went to the DR. So they wait for a minute. They're like, maybe she'll come out. Maybe it's just a quick trip. And it's just like, all right. So there was definitely a little bit more of a somber mood going into the HOH room. At least Cody went up there. Jess freaking went to the diary room, but whatever. So they go in there. Paul got a letter from his mommy. She said no more humping or no humping in the house. Okay. Then he got a lot of nice snacks. He got some food socks, you know, socks with like donuts on it and stuff. He got some beard oil and a mustache comb. He got some Dos Equis. And his CD for the week is Drake. Woo! Okay. So then Jess did end up coming upstairs for a few minutes after she got out of the DR, and it was super awkward. Okay. So Cody and Jess returned to the have-not room to pout and complain. Jess was talking a lot of crap about all the girls. Remember in her preseason interview when she said that she's not catty? That's hilarious. Okay. So then a little while later, Paul is up in the HOH room with his followers. I mean, honestly, like, these freaking couples, it's sad because they're just gonna go from one leader to the next being like, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? It's just lame. I don't know. Alright, so Matt, Raven, Elena, Mark, Dominique, and Christmas were all up there. Kevin joined after a little while. So Paul explains his plan again. His target is Cody. He wants to put up 2 pawns from their side just to ensure that they're going to win this POV and take somebody down. And then at the end of the week, he ideally wants it to be Cody versus Raven. So then, you know, there was some confusion about Ramses' curse because Paul, again, thinks that Ramses has to go up for 3 weeks in a row, which would be so unfair and so ridiculous. And Elena's like, no, I think he just picks one of the weeks. So Paul wants to get some clarification on that. I don't know if he means from Big Brother or from Ramses. I don't know, would he actually be able to even get that clarification from Big Brother? Because it was up to Ramses to decide if he was going to tell people about it or not. I think Paul did get to read the card in the Den of Temptation about the curse. But, like, I feel like if he asked Big Brother about it, they're going to be like, you had your chance to read it. That's it. Or that's what I would say if I was Big Brother. I don't know. But anyway, Matt and Mark. There's a little bit of pushback here now. The tides are kind of turning on this plan. The couples are starting to realize, like, ooh, I don't know if I like this so much. They're like, they get where he's going with it, but at the same time, there's a lot of issues here. If they have their own people up on the block, that's going to be less votes on their side. They don't like that. So Matt and Mark are proposing putting up 2 people from the other side, meaning like Alex and Jason. They're saying those 2 will fight really hard for the power of veto, and it doesn't matter who Cody's up on the block against on Thursday. If he's up there and they're voting him out, he's going to go. So then there was also some talk of like Alex or Jess going up, or Alex and Jess going up, but that would be really dumb because Cody could just win the power veto and use it on Jess, and then they're both safe. At one point, Paul even asked Kevin if he would be a pawn, and Kevin was just like, No. He's like, I know that you're saying that I'm popular and people like me, but wouldn't you want to put somebody up who's a really good competitor and would be more likely to win the POV? That is a good point. Okay. So then later, Paul starts changing his mind. I don't know if maybe the DR was like, don't do that, that's dumb, or he realized that his alliance was not happy with this plan, but he decides like, wow, that'd be really stupid to put up Matt and Raven. So we'll come back to Paul in a little bit. Kevin is in the money room with Jason and Alex. Kevin is pissed. He is not happy that Paul asked him earlier about being a pawn. He's like, I can't believe he asked me that when you got all those freaking girls like Elena, Raven, and Dominique. I was like, wait, there's 3. And Dominique, who just like do nothing all day and they're just gonna skate by. Not cool. So then Kevin starts spilling this whole HOH conversation to Jason and Alex, and he's telling them all about Paul's plan. Kevin needs to be really careful because he's getting a little bit sloppy. But he is pissed that Paul is acting like they're expendable. He thought that they were going to be a team. And now that Paul's HOH, he's seeing like, whoa, maybe we're not as high up, you know, on Paul's list as we thought we were. So, I don't know. Is Kevin regretting his vote for Christmas to stay or what? It's hard to tell because he's really cool when he's with Paul, but then when he's not with Paul, he's just like, F him. So I don't know where his true loyalties lie. But anyway, Paul asks Alex to chat up in the HOH room, and Paul's like, I feel like I can trust you. He was very happy that Alex let him cut her in line a few times during the HOH competition. So he's like, I know that I can trust you now. That's awesome. And he gives Alex some advice. He warns her, Cody's not good for your game, obviously, and Jason is also not good for your game. He is moving up on a lot of people's target lists because he's got some loose lips and he's all over the place. Somebody made a really good comparison. I've seen this a few times pop up on like message boards and stuff. I wish I could take credit for this, but I can't. People have been comparing Jason to that like prehistoric squirrel in the Ice Age movies that is just like all the time. I think that's pretty accurate. He's just like spilling info all over the place. So Alex is like, I know, it's not a good situation. So Paul tells her everybody's on board to backdoor Cody this week. So he tells Alex, like, I'm not going to ask you to be a nominee, like to be a pawn. But he makes his way around to asking Alex to be a pawn. And he's like, yeah, I put you up against somebody like Josh or Ramses. So if you do stay up there with them, they will go, you'll be fine. He says if he wins the veto, he's going to use it on her, put up Cody. And Paul also proposes a secret alliance between the two of them. You got to give her something if she's going to agree to go up on the block. And he's like, no one would expect it, blah, 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 blah. Same stuff we usually hear, meet up in the dumpster. So Alex agrees to the plan, and we don't know if she's like totally on board with this or what, because we didn't get to see if she went and told Jason about this conversation after. However, she did share the plan with Kevin later on, and it seemed like she's on board for real. She's like, yeah, I feel like Paul won't screw me over, it'll be okay. So that's pretty interesting, I don't know. And then Paul also asked Josh to be a pawn, and he was like, this is your chance to prove yourself to the team. He told him about the whole plan to get rid of Cody. Didn't they say last week that if Josh voted to keep Christmas, like that's his opportunity to show that he's a team player? And he did that, but now they're testing him again? Just doesn't seem fair, huh? But Josh agrees to the plan. He's like, yeah, I'll do it. Well, fine. Alright, so today, Paul asked Ramses about the curse, and Ramses clarifies it's once within the next 3 weeks. And Paul's like, alright, well, I think it would be a good week for you to do it because Cody is my target and you'll be fine. Paul is trying to set this up so he has a little bit of insurance just in case the Cody thing falls through. It'll be interesting to see if Ramses does go ahead and do it this week. So then the feeds went down, I think, for the Den of Temptation, or as Kevin calls it, the Den of Dynasty. So we don't know yet who has received or who has been tempted by the Ring of Replacement, but when I know, I'll let you guys know in the info for the spoiler. Also, I'm assuming nominations are going to be today. It's looking like Paul will be putting up Alex and Josh. but who knows, we'll see. So I'll definitely be talking about that and more tomorrow. So leave your thoughts in the comments, and until next time, much love.